welcome to State View. I'm Mark Crosby of Quincy Access Television. Thank you for joining us. State View is a program that looks at legislation happening on Beacon Hill and how that affects you living here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Joining me today from the 1st Norfolk District is Representative Bruce Ayers. Bruce, welcome back to the studio.
Thanks, Mark. It's nice to be here again. Appreciate it.
Great to have you. There's a lot of topics to discuss, as there always are when you come in. There's never a shortage of material. I guess it means that you're busy up on Beacon Hill.
It's a busy time of year. You know, the state budget's underway. The House is working on their budget, the Senate, and then, of course, the governor will be looking everything over.
Absolutely. Let's start with the budget. Let's start with the state budget, and we'll talk about the state budget. We'll also talk about the supplemental budget. And yeah, I guess if you could provide some highlights to both.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, the House finished their $49 billion budget recently, and a lot of the focus, Mark, was geared towards workforce development, housing, healthcare, employment opportunities. And we tried to do the best we could to address a lot of those concerns kind of during the COVID area. You know, other areas we focused on too are from the state services closer to home, with our state police patrols, with our parks, the Department of Conservation and Recreation. With the state police patrols, I know we've talked about this in past shows, we were able to secure funding for an additional patrol for the Wollaston Beach, Furnace Brook Parkway area. It's a designated patrol that would be seasonal, that would crack down on some of the speeding, littering, loitering, quality of life issues, loud music. We want to make sure now that the summer season is upon us that the beach is going to be clean and safe, and people can take advantage of all the recreational opportunities that it's there to offer. These patrols also go up in the Blue Hills area, Chippetopic Road, and we'll be keeping a close crackdown on that. With the parks, you know, we want to make sure that we have enough workforce and equipment to maintain our parks in the area. Along with that, working with the delegation, we've got a lot of funding for the Quincy organizations, you know, like QCAP, who does a great job, Beth Ann Strollo and the QCAP facility there. You know, whether it's fuel assistance or tax assistance or job help, job opportunities that is, or NeighborWorks, you know, with housing assistance, rent control, eviction assistance. Quincy Aging Resources, Father Bill's, the Galvin House. It's like an ecosystem of resources that are out there for Quincy residents, and we wanted to make sure that we were advocating for them as much as we could. They do a great job. They ought to be commended, and a lot of people who may not know about these services should really take a look at it. And on top of that, we had a lot of success with other outside funding, money for the Marina Bay Ferry. We got money for a playground up at President's Golf Course, hazmat control, Germantown Community Center, Quincy College, and the credit goes out to all the colleagues. You know, really lucky. We've got a great Quincy delegation, and you know, this budget, I think we have more in this budget for the city of Quincy than we ever did. So we try to really break it down, listening to the needs of our constituents, working with the business owners, and address those in the budget as close as possible as we can.
We should mention too that although you are centered in Quincy, that areas that you represent, like Wollaston Beach, are used by people from neighboring communities.
That's right. And we have to take all that into account, you know. So, you know, working with the Department of Conservation and Recreation, you know, we try to make sure that there's going to be adequate funding, and in contrast to that, whether it's the equipment and the manpower needed. You know, the city of Quincy obviously does a great job also. You know, they'll help out in certain areas with state properties. You know, and a lot of credit goes to different organizations like the Friends of Wollaston Beach. You know, they have a great organization that based on volunteers that have beach cleanup days and other activities during and over the course of the summer for kids. And then, you know, we have the 2 yacht clubs. That's another great resource. And when I was a kid, I learned to fish, swim, and sail down in that area. You know, so yeah. Residents can really, you know, take advantage of all those opportunities. whether it's Wollaston Beach, or the Blue Hills, there's an awful lot to offer for Quincy residents and outside residents when they're coming to our city.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Department of Natural Resources here in the city of Quincy did a program, I believe it was an Earth Day, maybe 2 years ago, and it was titled From the Mountains to the Sea, because you have the Blue Hills and you have Wollaston Beach.
Yeah, that's right. Lots of activity. We're really lucky. Sometimes when it's in our own backyard, we don't realize it as much. But to your point, where people will travel from outside towns, the North Shore and South Shore, to go to Quincy, whether it's the bike ride to Wollaston Beach or maybe go through the Blue Hills to hike or other recreational activities, it's all there.
Just be careful of, if you're hiking, be careful of the ticks. I
That's
understand. I did a show with the health department, and there's a tick called the Lone Star tick. So deer ticks were the ticks that you had to be aware of and be mindful of, but now there's this Lone Star tick also, which causes problems. So enjoy hiking, I suppose. Just prepare and use bug repellent when you're out there, and dress accordingly. I do want to talk, before we leave Wollaston Beach, and I know that this is a problem, maybe it doesn't affect Wollaston Beach, I'm not sure, but a lifeguard shortage that the DCR is dealing with. I know they can't fulfill some of their requirements in other communities throughout the state.
That's right. It is a concern. We would certainly encourage, a lot of our teenagers, if they're looking for a great summer job, there's great employment opportunities right here in our own backyard. Wollaston Beach is not a bad place to work for the summer. I'd encourage anyone who may be interested in learning more about the lifeguard program or the career opportunities to call our office. They can certainly call me at the State House at 722-2220 and learn more about the pay scale, the hours of operation, and your responsibilities. But I remember growing up as a kid, that was a great job to have if you were lucky enough to have it. Right now it seems that they're having trouble filling a lot of these positions throughout the whole area with DCR, the Department of Conservation and Recreation. So there are opportunities out there for kids in the summer.
What a better job than to spend the day at the beach, right?
That's right.
We talked about the Marina Bay Ferry. I'd like to get into a little more detail about that. That's also utilized by not only Quincy residents, but folks from neighboring communities as well.
That's right. We were able to secure more funding in the budget to help with the Marina Bay Ferry operational costs, funding for the pier, the dock maintenance, things like that. The ferry will be running again this year. I believe it's going to start up next week, last week in May, could be the first week in June. There will be a website with the schedule, www.mbferry.com. In the past, as you know, Mark, we've partnered with the town of Winthrop. The Winthrop facility has similar to what Marina Bay has. They've got the pier, the dock. They operate the ferry itself. It's a 90-passenger ferry. It's a great opportunity, for Quincy residents to kind of take advantage of going to downtown Boston. 2 stops downtown Boston. We live in a seacoast community. It's great to take advantage of this. We have the former Deer Island sewer treatment plant parking lot that was built, has over 900 parking spots, the infrastructure. So it was a natural when we partnered with the town of Winthrop. Not only for transportation, but also for tourism. A lot of people like to come to Marina Bay to check out all the restaurants, some of the activities that are going on out there. So it has an awful lot of potential. And over the years, we've been able to secure a lot of funding locally, federally, to add to that kind of plan, the footprint with the new extension from Commander Shea Boulevard into Squantum Point Park. It's a great way to get downtown. Boston has some of the worst traffic in the country.
I was going to say avoid the Southeast Expressway.
That's right.
Ride on the water instead. You and I were talking about how relaxing simply being out on the water is.
That's right. That's right. So it's, we want to be able to offer that to the Quincy residents, to take advantage of water transportation. It's certainly a great way to go. You can park all day there for I think it's $8. Students can use the ferry for $5. Seniors, I think, is $6.50. Just a relaxing way to go in town, whether you're you're working or taking advantage of a ferry ride to go into the aquarium or do some sightseeing.
I did mention the supplemental budget, and we want to talk about that. And certainly, I guess a big part of that is the extension of outdoor dining.
Right, right. The supplemental budget, a big part of that was to address some of the COVID concerns. A major portion of the funding went to COVID testing, COVID sites, PPP equipment to address the COVID expenses that have been going on.
And we should mention, just as a caveat, that numbers have been ticking up with this sub-variant. And you mentioned Deer Island, that's where they also test the wastewater, and those levels have been showing in those water samples. So
that's right.
We're still not done with this pandemic.
That's right. You know, we definitely want to caution people. You know, there seemed to be a false sense of security out there that when the weather was breaking, that this would kind of dilute or lighten up. But it seems to be creeping back up again. So we certainly want to caution residents. And to your point, the Deer Island plant there, they're showing increased activity of the virus. So certainly want to encourage people to take all those precautions. And you know, the speaker and the members wanted to make sure we address that in the supplemental budget, making sure there's proper testing sites and equipment out there for our residents, you know, throughout the Commonwealth. And along with that too, we wanted to make sure that we were assisting the small businesses. They took it really hard during the COVID last couple of years. You know, it was really tough, to no fault of their own, not their work ethic or their business model. It just, they were just a consequence. So, and they're still having a hard time. So a few of the steps that the state, the delegation, the House has done, is to extend the outdoor dining until March 2023. They extended the takeout, you know, for the beer, the wine, the cocktails. We also extended the eviction process for some of the rental units. So we tried again to take a close look what was going on in certain areas, working with all parties that have veteran interests, and make sure we addressed those concerns as best as possible. You know, so there's a lot of help, there's a lot of assistance out there. I certainly want to encourage residents who may be watching today's show to give us a call. There may be programs or finances out there they might not be aware of.
I do want to address the list of items I have here, because we should mention that these items that we will be talking about and have talked about are items that come from constituents.
Yes, that's right.
That's the best way to build a show, right? This is what people want to know. So let's talk about some happenings with Elder Affairs.
Yes, Elder Affairs is, you know, I was fortunate. Speaker Mariano, who assigns legislators committee assignments, was awful good to me. One of the committees he appointed to me on was the Joint Committee on Elder Affairs. It's a great committee. I get to work on a lot of senior issues throughout the district, throughout the Commonwealth. And one of the pieces of legislation that our Chairman Tom Stanley is heading up the committee, just put out a bill that would improve the overall conditions of our long-term care facilities. What this bill would do, the provisions in the bill, would crack down on a number of different areas. More control and accountability for the operations of nursing homes and assisted living centers. It would have more emphasis on retention and recruiting nurses and staff members in these agencies. More provisions done with patients that may suffer from dementia or Alzheimer's. And there's also more fines and penalties to some of these owners of the facilities who don't comply with the new standards. So this was all done as part of a nursing home facility task force that was created, that had come up with a bunch of recommendations that we looked at and put provisions on for this legislation. You know, we want to make sure that if a senior or a resident is going to one of these facilities, you know, that they're getting the best possible care they have, whether it's for an illness or maybe recovering from an operation. So it's a good bill. We always want to advocate for our seniors and the best health care we can.
Just to take a slight sidebar, as you're talking about changes, coming to mind is the Soldiers Field home.
That's right. You may have just heard they settled the lawsuit out there, but a lot of the findings that came up in that report that there wasn't appropriate proper personnel or oversight in that facility, that should have never have taken place. And I think that's a lot of what is reflected in the legislation, for nursing homes in, assisted living centers now. But make sure there's more accountability, more consequences, more recruitment to make sure that they're well staffed.
And for folks that are unaware, this was basically the loss of life at that facility during the early stages of the pandemic.
That's correct.
Let's talk about the MBTA and some facility work that is being done, primarily, I guess, right here in the city of Quincy, with a building that's being outfitted for a collection of buses that are environmentally conscious.
That's right. Just recently, there was a ribbon cutting down in Bergen Parkway for the new facility it's slated to be open in 2024, and this will be the first in the state for basically electric buses. That new facility that's going to be built will hold up to 120 electric buses. The goal here was to cut down on our carbon footprint, to get to zero emissions, and we're awful excited that Quincy is going to be one of the first locations in that area. Right now, the MBTA has just announced its Better Bus project. What that is, Mark, is they just put out a new plan. There's a draft right now that shows a lot more stops and a lot more service in the greater Boston area and outside the North Shore and South Shore. And certainly want to let the residents know that coming up on June 7th from 4 to 6 o'clock at the Quincy Center Station, there will be an open house where residents can learn more about the new program, the new stops, weigh in on some of their concerns, find out what the T is doing to improve their service. And to kind of give you an overview, over the last 5-10 years, throughout the region, there's been a lot of new growth, whether it's new businesses, new housing. Everything has changed and grown, so we want to make sure that the T is taking that into account, to help our constituents, our residents, coming from Quincy, whether they're going downtown for work, whether they're going downtown for school or a medical appointment, that they have that access. There's over 300,000 riders each day that rely on the T, thousands from Quincy, and we want to make sure that these locations are conducive with their lifestyle. So we certainly want to encourage people. They can contact my office for information. They can show up to the event. It's also going to be remote. I believe you might have the website too that you'll be showing for people that want to weigh in on online.
We do, and my director will get that up. Oh, there it is, right on screen. Didn't even have to say much. However, I'm going to ask my director, because I failed to set the clock at the beginning of this program, so I have no idea how long we've been talking, and we can talk for a long time. This is only a half-hour show, however, so I guess, an inquiry to my director to maybe get me set back on track. I do want to discuss, and I think about your colleague, Representative Tacky Chan, when I think about anything involving acting, because he does hold a card. He is an actor, and that brings me to back to Marina Bay to talk about the Marina Bay studio.
Yeah.
Maybe you're an actor too. I just haven't seen you in anything. I don't know.
I'm not. Tacky's a talented guy, and acting is one of his many abilities there. But at Marina Bay, a lot of folks may know this, some may not, but the former sports complex that was out there has been repurposed to a movie studio. And a lot of people are excited, that this type of use is going on in the Marina Bay area. Recently, Senator Keenan and I had an opportunity to do a site visit to the location. The purpose of the site visit was to get a better understanding of their operations and the impact it'll have in that area where they had worked out a lease with the state, the Department of Conservation and Recreation, with the parking lot. We, Senator Keenan and myself, pushed for provisions, that would have a contact person. We also put provisions on that take into account where they would be using a portion of the Marina Bay parking lot for their movie use, staging, equipment, that it didn't interfere or took into account all the recreational activities that go on out there seasonally. A lot of jogging, walking, bird watchers, fishing. We want to make sure that that's not interrupted. If it is, we can work in cooperation with the movie studio representatives. So, but it's an exciting kind of development out there. It shows, the results of the Massachusetts film tax credit are certainly now starting to pay dividends.
Is that now a permanent fixture? It is.
Yes. And a lot of credit goes to Speaker Mariano for pushing that initiative, and also Representative Chan. They were leaders in that legislation, and Mark, they saw they saw the benefits, the dividends, of bringing movies to the state. The recent Oscar, Coda, was filmed in Gloucester.
Oh, was it?
It was. And now there's an awful lot of films being filmed in Massachusetts and sitcoms. But with that, it generates...
So there may be a role for you. You just have to get that card.
You never know. But with that, you have... it's an economic driver. You have people coming to work on the sets. They're staying at our hotels. They're eating at our restaurants. They're buying our goods and services. It's an economic driver in that area.
Well, I do remember Cameron Diaz, when she was shooting a movie here in Quincy, she went to Grumpy White's for lunch. So
wow.
Absolutely, it helps the local economy.
Well, the people out at the marina in Squantum and North Quincy shouldn't be surprised if they see some of the movie stars around the area, because I think part of the lure was on top of the tax incentives for studios to come to Massachusetts. But Marina Bay was really desirable because it was close to Logan Airport. And with the condos and the rental units out there, the goal is to put some of the actors or movie stars in there for a rental period of time where they can walk across the lot and film their movie. So I know they just finished up a Whitney Houston film, and there's a new film going on now, I believe. I'm not sure quite of the name of it, but a lot of these people are out there soliciting the Marina Bay area, and going out to eat in restaurants, and that's what we want. They're taking advantage of all those amenities. They're taking advantage of the ferry, so it's a positive thing for the area.
I do want to talk about a couple more things to talk about before the end of the show, and my clock is now back, so I know where I am in this half hour. The Squantum School, and a new Squantum School.
That's right. Part of the MSBA program. We've got to give an awful lot of credit to the school committee, Mayor Koch, Councilor Harris, who really made the Squantum School a priority. And as you know, Mark, the school building assistants all started back in 2004. Matter of fact, when Tim Cahill was treasurer. The funding comes from a penny on every dollar for our sales tax, and it's generated an awful lot of funding over the years for the city of Quincy, school improvements, new schools, renovations, and we're lucky enough that Squantum School now is next in line. The city has done an awful lot of their due diligence. There's a number of phases that you have to go through to qualify and to eventually get the funding, and they've cleared all those hurdles. There's still some to go, but they've done a great job. And what the delegation does is throughout that process, we monitor those steps, working with Treasurer Goldberg, working with the Executive Director, Jack McCarthy, to make sure that we're complying each step of the way. So to work kind of in collaboration with the city officials. But the Squantum School is over 100 years old. I don't think they've made renovations to it for over 50 years or something like that. My parents went there. So there's a lot of emphasis now on new buildings and, of course, the new technology. Technology is playing a big role with our learning in the new facilities, the STEM program, science, technology, engineering, and math. We need to provide the best education resources we have, and Squantum is certainly due for that.
And these buildings, too, have a climate angle
That's right.
that the old buildings didn't have. I mean, the use of electricity and other resources is great in older buildings, and not so with newer buildings.
That's right. Great point. You know, they've changed an awful lot over the years. You know, and to take all that into account, you know, they've really kind of crossed the T's and dotted the I's with all the requirements for the application process.
I do want to talk about, excuse me, the Helping Hand program, and most recently a donation to Ukraine, and the tragedy that is happening there is just beyond words. But the Helping Hand program, maybe you can talk about the program in general and specifically about the Ukrainian donation.
Sure. Well, some of your watchers may be familiar with our Helping Hand program. If not, we certainly encourage them to contact us if we can help. How it works is we collect slightly used durable medical equipment, wheelchairs, walkers, crutches, canes, commodes, tub seats, and we store them at our facility in North Quincy, and we just turn around and give them to residents free of charge. We've been fortunate. We've got an awful lot of residents that have donated. And then during the Ukraine crisis, we started working with other agencies that were shipping supplies over to Ukraine. One of the agencies was a church, the Christ is King Church, Ukrainian Catholic Church out of Jamaica Plain, working with some of the residents in that area. We were able to put together a lot of walkers, wheelchairs, crutches, canes, things like that to ship over to Ukraine in some of their relief efforts inside and around Ukraine. We also did an equipment drive in Quincy last month, and I want to thank the Quincy residents who were nice enough to donate. We went around and had a pickup day and picked up, I think it was a couple hundred walkers. We also got about 50 wheelchairs, crutches, canes. We were able to pick up a large donation from the Quincy residents. It worked out great. I think a lot of the residents were doing a little bit of a spring cleaning, and we were able to help them with that. But we'll be taking all this equipment, shipping it to Ukraine. For some of the equipment that may be left over, we'll be using it for the Quincy residents to take advantage of. But the whole goal was to, you know, provide them with some relief, and also with the Quincy residents that may, you know, need some of this equipment. It's free. You know, they might not have the proper insurance or coverage. You know, they can certainly take advantage of the program.
Because these pieces, medical equipment is very expensive, so certainly this is a help.
It can be. You know, we had a resident that was looking for a hospital bed, a wheelchair, and a tub seat to stay at home, basically, to make her home a little bit more conducive to stay living an independent lifestyle. And sometimes that equipment might be beyond their reach financially. So if residents are looking for help, give us a call. If we have it, we'll help you out.
Very good. I want to thank you, Bruce, for coming in and chatting today. It's always an informative show, and I certainly appreciate you accepting the invitation to come in and chat.
Great. Well, thank you, Mark. I appreciate the opportunity. I know my colleagues certainly appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and to your listeners, to let them know what's happening on Beacon Hill, and also to encourage them to reach out to us. You know, if they want to meet with us during office hours or remotely, we're available.
Very good. Well, thanks again for this program, and we'll see you in short order to discuss more topics, I bet.
Great. Thank you.
And thank you at home for watching. I want to thank you for continuing to support Local Access Television, no matter what community you live in. Supporting Local Access TV is crucial. Till next time, I'm Mark Crosby. Thank you for joining us.